telegraph was simply a long wire under the Atlantic Ocean, 3,000-mile long wire. Now this electricity at the time would go that distance, but they didn't know about a lot of things in electricity. One of which is they didn't know how to make good insulation that would stay under the water, under the pressures and the salt water for that distance. They also didn't know about characteristic impedance of a line. So a pulse goes down a wire, the wire has to be tuned to the pulse so it keeps going, otherwise it stops, it dissipates. So they cranked, in the original Atlantic cable, they weren't getting anything through. They kept cranking up the voltage and they blew out the insulation eventually. Well, that's a real big loss of money. They made a whole long cable from here to there worthless because they cranked the voltage up too much and they didn't have the insulation, good enough insulation.
Now, you're Thomas Martin, you're not Cyrus Field.
I'm Tim Martin. Cyrus Field, no, Cyrus Field was nearby. He lived in town, as I understand it. He was here, I saw him today.
Yeah, he lives up that street.
Yeah, I did see him.
So this is not that. This is the electric telegraph.
It's the telegraph that the railroads use. Okay, they had one installed at the railroad station. But private people could use it too. I just sent a message out. I got paid for the message that I sent out. It's a service, so people could use it on a time-sharing basis that way. They'd give me a message, and I would send it out in the Morse code. Somebody at the other end would hear it. They'd copy it down. First of all, I gotta communicate where do I want to send it to, and I have to make sure there's somebody at the other end to receive it. So I send out, and when I get a reply back from New York City, then I start sending my message, and he'll come back and say, I got confirm your message receipt, or I didn't get it right, send it over again, or send this part of it over again. And then they would write down, and it would send a messenger to the recipient. The recipient would write down what message they wanted to send, comes back, and at the other end they would send it back here, and I would decode it, and the message would go to the home of the person.
So you were just in the office, you didn't invent this or
No, I didn't invent it. Samuel F. P. Morse invented the Morse code.
Yeah,
this was the application that made the hardware usable for communications. The hardware was invented about 5 years before that, but there are a number of inventors. First of all, they had to invent a battery, or the direct current source. Then they had to invent insulation for wires, and how to make wires. And then they had to discover the effects of electricity going through a wire and how it makes magnetism, and then when the magnet would attract it and make that sound. And this device here would make that sound, and it could be used to switch electricity also, a relay.
Dad, can you tell us how much you charged for that telegraph that you sent?
Yes, I charged by the letter, and that one was 65 cents. So it's by the letter. So then people said, well, that's expensive, I'll send less letters. So they started abbreviating words. And so that's how we get a lot of acronyms of today. They're abbreviated. Or at the other end, I wanted to wake up the operator. I sent him a message, and he would send me back something shorthand kind of thing that would say, I'm ready to receive you, send at this speed, send at that speed, or repeat the message, or various things. If he's busy with something else, he would send a code back. Here's a way to shorthand instructions between operators called the 92 code. So he would send back something that says, I'm busy, or hold on while I'm doing this or that.
So he would send a number?
Yes.
The number one meant, wait a minute?
Yes. Yes. After it was established that he had to send that, he would say, I'm sending this code, and then he would send the code.
Okay.
Normally he would just send the letters, and he would decode it. So it's like a preamble to what's happening. So there are a lot of abbreviations used, because in the English language there's a lot of redundancy, like the title general. Why don't you just send GEN instead of general, you know? And but for the most part, this is longhand here. I mean, it's all the letters. Like Philadelphia, and you might just send the first 5 letters.
Right.
That's enough, you know. They didn't have 2-letter abbreviations for the states at that time, but that would have been a worthwhile thing to do.
They didn't, huh?
post office invented that, right? Zip codes.
Well, but the abbreviations, AZ and MA, they didn't have that.
Well, Massachusetts used to be MASS, right? Pennsylvania was PNNA, right? You remember that, don't you?
No, I don't.
Before
That's
zip
good. She
codes.
does.
I
but-
do remember that now.
Before
All
zip
of them are
codes.
only 2 letters.
Yeah.
Now you
Yeah.
can't tell Mississippi from Missouri, right? Or Alaska from
Missouri's-
Arkansas from.
No.
No, Missouri's MO.
Yeah.
What about Mississippi?
MI.
Am I?
It's either the first 2 letters
It's
or
harder.
the last
Where
of
did
the
you
first.
get that from?
You have to know it though. It's
You
hard.
have to know it
Yeah.
to know.
How
No,
about
it's a
Alaska
no.
and Alabama?
AK is a last. No,
Arkansas.
they're different.
And there's
They are
Arkansas.
different, but
And
you have to know
Arkansas.
what they are to
Yeah,
know. You're
Arkansas
right.
and Alaska.
Maybe you could memorize it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But,
that's exactly what you have to do.
but you
Maine-
don't.
Maine
No,
and
you don't use it every day. So I don't know, Alaska,
Yeah.
Arkansas, Alabama. I don't know.
And Maine is ME, and Massachusetts is MA.
Now,
It's either the first and last or the first.
Yeah, who was king and allowed that to be made, right?
You know when you do your zip code, your 5-digit zip code, and then you put a dash and you put the other 4 things?
Yeah.
The guy, our postmaster, told me that they don't use those other 4 letters, that they put it in, they found that it wasn't workable, and he said, you can put it in, but we don't look at it.
Well, I thought a computer looked at that and knew
What he
exactly
told
where you were.
That's my postmaster. He said, we just
Okay.
look, the 5 letters are enough for us, we don't need
Okay.
anything else. 5 numbers.